In this tutorial, I'm going to go through how to put on a roof and how to make some changes to the roof to turn it from a hip roof to a gable roof. I've got my Bungalow A floor plan all set up here. I've added some more things to it, more symbols and things. I've also got my 3D build has been completed, and I've also got a build, just a quick build of the first floor. You're going to want to work mostly with the quick builds wherever you can because they regenerate much faster than the full build. I'm going to go through and put on a roof. Notice that before I start, because I've put in my floor system, that the walls for the garage are actually lower than the rest of the exterior walls. The reason for that is that when we installed or before we put in the floor system, the walls were all exactly the same height. When we put in the floor system, the computer put in for the floor joist, the sill plate, and the subfloor, and that adds up to an extra 11.625 inches, so 11 5/8 of an inch. It doesn't do that up in the garage area because we've got a slab floor there. So what we've got to do is to adjust the walls and make them the same height. So I'm going to do this in the solid in the build. I'm going to click on the wall, and now I want to keep the offset at 0 on these walls. I still want them down at the bottom. Now I've got to make this 8 feet 11.625. It's a good thing to remember. It's 11.625 inches that the floor system adds. So I'm going to say OK, and now this is level along the top. I'm going to do a repeat edit on the other wall, and now I've got it all set up. So now I'm going to go back and to the floor plan and put in a basic roof. To do that, I'm going to go to roof mode, and now I can go over to the draw menu, and I'm just going to put in an auto roof. And as long as your garage is just a part of the rectangle, it will create a very simple roof. Even if your garage is not within the main rectangle, it will still figure out the hip roof for you. So now I'm going to go back to the build and just have a quick look at the 3D. So I'm going to, I'll just do sketched mode right now, and that's what the roof looks like. Okay, and now what I want to do is to change the roof from being a hip roof to being a gable roof. I'm going to have the gable run the length, so really parallel to the front and back of the house. So I'm going to go back to the floor plan. You can actually make these changes in soft view as well, but I find it easier here. I'm going to go to Edit and click on the circle here. You'll notice that each edge has got that blue circle, and that identifies the roof properties for that side. So I'm going to click on that one, and I get all these properties. I can make all sorts of changes. So I'm going to change from a hip roof to a gable. You could play around and try with a Dutch gable or some other type of roof. So I'm going to say gable, and now I'm going to change my overhang. I'm going to make it 2 feet and just see how that looks. Actually, I'll leave it as is for now. We'll see how it looks, and then we'll try it with 2 feet and see how it looks later. I'm going to make the gable end be siding, so that means that it's going to be, I've used brick for the exterior walls, and then it's going to be siding in through the gable, and I'll show you what that means when I regenerate it. You don't have to do that. You could put in anything. You might decide to put in stucco. You might just decide to leave it as being the same as your wall. But I'm going to put it in as siding for now. The corners, gable corners, I'm going to leave in a bird box, and I'll show you what that means. And actually, you know what? I'm going to try a hip return, and I'll show you what that means in a moment. Then we're going to try and put in a gable vent, and we can go and select different styles of gables that we want. So I can click up here and go around and see different styles. Pick one that we like. I think I'm just going to go with an octagon and say OK. We can change the fascia style. and we can change the fascia depth. So right now it's set at 5.5 inches. The pitch will change the steepness of the roof, and so we'll leave that as it is for right now and say OK. And now I've got, notice that the roof has now changed. So instead of it being a hip, which is still shown on this side, it's now a gable over here. I'm going to do a repeat edit because I'm going to want the same thing at the other end. So I'm going to go repeat edit and click on that one. And now I've got my gable at both ends, and I'm going to go and see what it has, how it looks, and I'll regenerate it, and that's what it looks like now. Okay, so I've got these are called the hip returns, right? And you can play around with the other options. You could try the bird box if you like. It's got the vent, and we've got the siding. If I do texture, just to see it a little bit better. Now we'll see the siding going up through that part. So I've got my brick up to the gable portion of the roof, and then the rest is siding. Again, you don't need to do that. If I wanted to, I could easily go and say edit on this wall and say fit to roof. Say OK. And notice now that it fills in that wall all the way up to the roof. Now it's going to look like it's brick all the way up. I'm just going to undo that because I decided I wanted to have the siding up there just to have a little bit of a different look. And now I've got my house like that. You do need to, at this stage, check that the doors and the walls, that none of them protrude through the roof. And right now it seems like I'm okay. So I don't have any walls sticking up through the roof or any doors. What I'm going to do is go back. I'm going to have a look at what changing the roof pitch will do. So I'm going to go to the floor plan. And then I'm going to change the overhang and the pitch. So I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to click on this edge now, and I still want that to remain as a hip. I'm going to change the overhang to 2 feet, and then I'll say OK. And I'm going to repeat Edit, and I'm going to do the same overhang on each of these ones. You don't necessarily have to have the same overhang all the way around. That's the way I'm going to do it to begin with. I'm just going to check that the repeat edit worked, and it has, so everything is now 24 inch. And go back and have a look and see what the effect is. So we regenerate it, and now we've got a different overhang. Slightly changes the look. Okay. And sometimes what you'll find is if you change the pitch or if you change the overhang, you may actually find that some of your walls will stick up through, and you may need to change the pitch of the roof. So to change the pitch of the roof, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the pitch of this part of the roof, and it won't change the back at this stage. I'm going to say Edit. I'm going to click on that dot, and here is the pitch. The pitch is always done as so many inches rise, so many inches up for 12 inches run. And so we're going to put in here, I'm going to make it less steep. It looks a little too steep for my liking, so I'm going to say 4 inches there and say OK. We'll leave everything else as it is, and we'll go back to our view, and you can see now that it's lower on this side and still the same on this one. And if you like that, that's fine. Otherwise, you can do the same edit on the other roof. So maybe we'll do that and see how it looks. Go back to here, and we'll edit this one, and we'll make it a pitch of 4 inches and say OK. Regenerate it, and we'll just see how it looks. Well, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave my roof like that. Okay, now we've got our roof looking fairly good. Let's try to make some changes to it just to see, just to experiment. And so this time I'm just going to work in the soft view. So I'm going to click on the edge here, and it brings up the same type of menu. Let's try playing around with some of these things. Let's change the plumb. Let's change it to rake, and that gives us an open cornice rather than a closed cornice. We could change the fascia depth if we want a little bit more or a little bit less. Let's just make it 5 inches right now. And top of plate, so TOP is top of plate to fascia, so that's the distance from here to the fascia, so from here to here. We can change that, and what it does is it's really the equivalent of lifting the roof straight up. So I'm just going to do an extreme example here. If I change this to 12, click somewhere else, then notice that this brings this way down, and I've lowered the roof down. Okay, if I take this the other way and go to 4, it's lifted the roof way up off of the double plate. So I'm going to go back to and leave it at what it was, which was 9.5, and I could use something slightly different if I wanted to. Now I'm going to say OK and just see what the effect is. So now have a look. I probably don't want to have the bird box here now, so I'm going to edit that face again, and now I'm going to say plain gable corners. Say OK. Generate. And oh, actually, I'm going to have to do it here. I'm going to say edit. I'm going to say plain gable corners. Okay. And now that looks a little bit more appropriate for an open style cornice. And again, I've just given the roof a totally different look by changing those items. Let's play with a little bit more. If I click on this one, so this is the gable end. If I change that one to play with a Dutch gable, say OK. And I kind of like that look. So let's spin it around and look at it from the other end. And I can do a repeat edit on this one. And now I have a look. Kind of like that look. So I'm going to leave that. It seems to suit this house. So I'm going to leave that one on. And let's play around with some of the surface materials. So let's change the asphalt shingles. Remember that whenever this comes up, it has a lot of different things here, but the one that's selected is the one that you've clicked on, so it makes it easy to work with. And I'm going to go on change and select a different type of shingle. Go to something like this and see how that looks. Say OK. And I think we'll leave the roofs module for now. When I go back to here, I can just go back to draw mode and to drawing mode now, just to be ready there. And a reminder that when you close out of something like this, it's going to ask you if you want to save the camera position and material assignments. Make sure that if you've made any changes to material assignments and you want to keep them, make sure you say yes here. If you say no, then you go back to your plan. Of course, it looks the same in the plan. Then you come back and build it. You will have lost all those material assignments. So things like the surface material of the roofing material that I've just done would be lost. So make sure that you say yes there if you're wanting to save them, and if not, then say no. Okay, and I'm going to stop right there.